always true.
I'm Osama bin Javed at the headquarters of the International Atomic Energy Agency in Vienna. On this edition of Talk to Al Jazeera, the Palestinian permanent representative to the IAEA discusses Israel's alleged use of depleted uranium during its war on Gaza, the alarming nuclear threats made by Israeli ministers, and the failure of the IAEA to put these concerns to the Israeli government, led by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Join us for the next half hour as Salah Abdel Shafi, permanent representative of Palestine to the IAEA, talks to Al Jazeera. Ambassador Salah Shafi, thank you very much for talking to Al Jazeera.
My pleasure.
Let's begin with a grave accusation that you have made against the state of Israel, that it is using depleted uranium in Gaza.
Yes.
Do you have any proof to substantiate that?
No, we have indications. We didn't say that we have proof, but we have indications. Some experts are saying that the type of missiles used by fighter jets, it is very common that they use depleted uranium. Some international, not experts, humanitarian aid workers who managed to get into Gaza also made these accusations. But the most important thing is that Israel should allow experts into the Gaza Strip so that they can do a thorough investigation whether really depleted uranium was used or not.
You are the ambassador to the IAEA, the UN's watchdog on nuclear issues. Is there an indication that IAEA is even interested to send people to investigate this?
Well, we will raise this issue officially with the IAEA. Obviously, so far Israel is not allowing anybody into Gaza except some humanitarian aid workers. But it is our responsibility as an observer within the agency and also the responsibility of member states to ask the agency to send experts and inspectors into Gaza to check whether really Israel has used depleted uranium in the ammunition that they've been using in the aggression against Gaza, to do thorough investigation on the soil, in the air. So all this is the responsibility of the International Atomic Energy Agency.
And what has been the response so far? Because this is not the first time this allegation is being made. It was made in 2009, it was made in 2014, some accused Israel in 2021, but this is not a new allegation, is it?
No, it is not a new allegation. So far we haven't seen any action, not only on the side of the International Atomic Energy Agency, but on the side of the international community at large. But today we have a qualitatively new situation. We're speaking about a genocide, about a vicious war that has been going on for 8 months. So again, we're speaking about a new quality that requires a thorough investigation and intervention from specialized international agencies.
What exactly is your accusation? Because if you had enough grounds, then obviously the IAEA would at least speak to Israel, wouldn't they?
No, we don't have accusations. We are just stating not a fact, a justified accusation, I would say, a justified accusation. The amount of ammunition used exceeded already the amount of ammunition used in the Second World War. Alone, this fact should trigger curiosity by the International Atomic Energy Agency and other specialized agencies to go into Gaza and do the thorough investigation.
Let's talk about, you say that in your speech at the International Atomic Energy Agency, you talk about depleted uranium. You also talk about statements that have come from Israeli ministers about the use of nuclear arms or nuclear weapons against the people of Gaza. Why do you say that?
Well, because the Israeli Minister of Heritage said very clearly that we should nuke Gaza. So this is the very first time that an Israeli official is admitting that Israel is in possession of nuclear weapons. And again, this is the responsibility of the International Atomic Energy Agency to interfere. We've asked the Director General officially. The Palestinian Foreign Minister sent an official letter to the Director General. The Iranian Foreign Minister sent a letter. We, the Arab group within the agency, we addressed this issue already in the board meeting last November 2023. We raised the issue again in various national statements in the board meeting in March of this year. And again, we raised this issue again in this board meeting now in June 2024. So we will keep pressing, we will keep demanding that the agency should interfere in that, since Israel has always denied that they are in possession of nuclear weapons. Israel is the only country in the Middle East that is not party to the non-proliferation agreement. Israel is the only country in the Middle East that did not sign a safeguards agreement and put its facilities under the safeguard system of the International Atomic Energy Agency. So again, while the Western world speaks a lot about the universality of the NPT, why shouldn't they pressure Israel to be part of this agreement? So again, we see a policy of double standards even on that level.
But NPT signatories, there are many countries who are not, it's not just Israel, which is not a signatory. And to your comment about the Israeli minister making those accusations or making that claim, it was seen as a reckless statement by the Israeli government, who suspended that minister.
No, I don't think he was suspended. Of course, Netanyahu said that this shouldn't be taken seriously. I think no one sane in this world is doubting that Israel is in possession of nuclear weapons. So our demand is that Israel should be part of the NPT. Because, listen, in 1995, there was the review conference, the NPT review conference. You know, every 5 years there is a review conference. And the Arab countries at that time agreed to the indefinite extension of the agreement, and in return, the United States gave guarantees that Israel should become or will become a state party to the NPT. So again, the Americans did not deliver on their promise, and we think that the decision that was made in 1995 is still valid until today, and we will keep requesting that the international community should honor its commitments. Another issue, there was a decision on convening a conference on a Middle East free zone of nuclear weapons. This conference should have taken place in 2012 until today because of Israeli refusal, which enjoys the backing of the Americans. This conference did not take place. So again, we have a policy of double standards. We have a policy of unjustified providing political and diplomatic backing to Israel.
You see, the dilemma with the International Atomic Energy Agency is, and we've heard that from the DG himself, that Israel is not a signatory to the NPT, and there's no mechanism that the IAEA can pressure Israel to become a signatory. And until it does, how do you think that they can ask Israel to abide by, inspections or nuclear safety agreements?
No. Here we have two issues. Israel becoming a member of the agency. The agency's slogan is Atoms for Peace. So basically, the agency is there to promote the peaceful use of atomic and nuclear energy. And we have a member state, which is Israel. And again, I know that the agency does not have the instruments to force Israel to allow for inspectors. But however, Israel admits that they have nuclear facilities. All what we are asking for is like any other country, is to put their facilities under the safeguards system of the agency. So if you have nuclear facilities, if you claim there are peaceful uses for these nuclear facilities, where is the problem of putting your facilities under the safeguard system of the Atomic Energy Agency? So obviously there's something wrong there. And again, like in all other international agencies and organizations, Israel holds the record in breaching and violating resolutions and laws and so on. So Israel is becoming a pariah state. This is a fact of life from my perspective.
Let's talk about the IAEA's role in the Middle East. We've heard a lot from the IAEA about Iran. We've heard a lot about other countries. But the Arab group in itself, which you alluded to, has given statements after statements. This is not the first time that you are trying to get the IAEA to at least write to Israel, and that has not borne any fruit. Why do you think these efforts should continue, and do you have any hope that there is going to be any pressure on the IAEA to talk to Israel about it?
We should keep pushing. I mean, this is the system, the international system that we have. As long as we don't have an alternative, we should pursue our position within this system. And let me be honest with you. The system is rapidly losing credibility. This so-called rule-based international system is losing credibility. The issue of Gaza, take the issue of Gaza. These young generations that are taking to the streets day in, day out, since 8 months. It's not about Gaza. It's not about Palestine. Gaza is becoming a symbol of injustice and the inability of the so-called rule-based international system to deliver. So again, I think we all agree that this system needs, the credibility of the system needs to be restored, and probably the system needs to be reformed. But until then, we should continue using the existing system, to using the existing mechanisms, knowing that these mechanisms are a system without teeth. So basically, what we're ending up today is a power system. If you're powerful, you impose. If you're not powerful, you're lost.
Let's talk about the Arab group in the IAEA. You made a statement for the first time about Article 7, Charter 7 of the United Nations, which talks about the use of military power or military intervention to restore peace. And you got signatures or unanimous agreement on this from countries which were part to the Abraham Accords as well. How did you manage that?
Well, you should ask these countries.
Well, you were instrumental in getting their support.
No. I mean, usually the procedure is that a group of experts representing all countries convene together and present a draft. So the draft goes to the ambassadors, the Council of Arab Ambassadors, and if there are objections, then it will be discussed and try to reach a common position. And in that sense, the group drafted, the experts group drafted this statement. It was distributed to all Arab embassies with a time limit of 2 days in silent procedure. There were no objections, and so it is the official position of all Arab countries.
But this is interesting because it is for the first time that Arab countries have agreed to talk about Chapter 7 of the United Nations. But it is an irrelevant forum, isn't it? At the IAEA, where this is going to be just a statement, it's non-binding, it does not call for any action. It is happening here in Vienna, but not happening either in Geneva or New York, where it really matters.
Well, every country presents positions that are not necessarily going to be effective or applied. But nevertheless, we have to make the position. And this is the position of the Arab group in Vienna, basically saying that we have a situation that is threatening international peace and security, and this requires, according to the Charter of the United Nations, invoking paragraph 7. So now, whether it comes to this, whether this is the right place to present this is a different question. But nevertheless, we have to make the position. We have to mobilize public opinion around this.
There has been a lot of criticism of Arab group in general and neighboring states in particular by people in Palestine of not doing enough. And do you agree with that? And do you think that Arab nations are doing what they can?
Well, each Arab country has its own circumstances and own interests that are not necessarily identical, all of Arab interests. We have a position, the joint Arab position is we need a comprehensive ceasefire. We all agree that the aggression should end. No troops, Israeli troops, should remain in Gaza, and to have a framework for a political solution that would lead to a two-state solution.
Do you think there is a blame or part of that blame that resides with Palestinians who control Gaza and the West Bank as well? Because there has never been, at least in the last few decades, sort of unanimity on the Palestinian position as well. You control, as the Palestinian Authority, the West Bank, then Hamas has Gaza, and there is no joint partner, as Israel has been saying, who can represent all Palestinians.
Well, it is known internationally that there is one address for Palestine. And this address is the Palestine Liberation Organization. This is the sole legitimate representative of the Palestinian people. You know that we declared the state. This state has the recognition of more than 140 countries in the world. The representatives of this state are known. So this is the party that represents Palestinians. And the world should talk to this party. The fact that we are divided, this is a fact, and this is an internal Palestinian issue that should be solved internally. So this should not be used as a pretext to obstruct or delay any political process.
Well, that political process, especially in the case of Gaza, is going to start with a ceasefire. And as I understand, you're not a party as the PA to those negotiations. It's being done with Hamas and Israel with a number of interlocutors.
That's true, because we're not part of the fighting that is going on in Gaza. We have no influence over the position of Hamas vis-a-vis the issue of ceasefire. Yes, that's true.
But does that not make you irrelevant to the entire case of the Palestinian people?
No, because when it comes to a political solution, the war will ultimately end. What counts really is what is the result, what is the day after this war. We all say we need a path that would lead to an independent Palestinian state, a path with a well-defined time frame. Now, this will be negotiated by the PLO, by the State of Palestine, by the legitimate Palestinian leadership.
How much hope do you have that there is now a sort of a proposal again on the table? You've seen from the US administration that there is a serious effort behind it. They seem to be moving towards the path of a ceasefire. Do you think it is plausible? Because there's grave allegations that you have, and generally the Palestinian Authority has leveled against the State of Israel, that it is not a serious partner for peace.
Well, definitely they're not a serious partner for peace. I mean, if you have an Israeli leadership that is publicly saying that they're against the two-state solution, then definitely we don't have a partner for negotiations on the Israeli side. And a meaningful political process can only start if we have on the other side a leadership in Israel that agrees to the two-state solution. I don't think we are going to sit down and negotiate with Israel whether we have the right for statehood or not. No. This should be given. We should negotiate how to reach there. So for us, from our perspective, the final product is well defined. It's an independent Palestinian state on the borders of 1967.
But the 1967 border, do you really think that it is a reality, given what has happened since 1967 in the West Bank, in Gaza, and what is happening in Gaza today? Do you think that is still a viable solution, or is it time to think of other alternatives?
I know it is difficult. I know that everyone who knows the reality on the ground, the magnitude of Israeli colonies in the occupied territories, knows how difficult this is. However, I think if there is a political will on the side of the international community, this solution can be imposed. One of the most important developments of the last 8 months is that Israel is gradually ceasing to be the darling of the international community. Israel was always treated as if they were above the law. Today, this is changing. The fact that European countries, including EU member states, are recognizing the state of Palestine is one proof of this new situation. We see a very dramatic change in the public opinion, how Israel is viewed. Israel managed for a long, long time to present itself as a victim. Today, the public opinion, to a large extent, looks at Israel as the perpetrators, not only in Europe, but also in the United States. We have a young generation that sees Israel as a country that is committing genocide.
Now, you see, there's a major difference between state policy of nation states and the sentiment on the street. Yes, you might have a blip in the radar of support from various sections of society, but that does not mean that the position of many states or most of Israel's allies have changed or is going to change.
Listen, democracies, Western democracies, are built around public opinion. Of course, we don't expect political parties or ruling parties in the Western world, in the global North, to change their opinion. However, by growing of this, public opinion, they cannot ignore it.
But let's talk about this country where you are based in Austria. I've been in the streets, I've spoken to people, there were encampments which were taken out, there were protests which were broken up, and that public sentiment, there is certainly no outpouring on the street now as it was a couple of months ago.
Yes, that's true. And again, Austria is one example of, one of the few examples, I would say, worldwide where we have a government here that has a strong pro-Israel position. But let me tell you something. I remember when the first demonstrations took place after the aggression started against Gaza. Most of the participants in these demonstrations used to be, Austrian of foreign origin, or Arabs or Palestinians or Muslims. This has been changing.
But there's also a change on the political front. You're seeing the rise of the right-wing parties across various countries in Europe coming to the fore. There's European Union elections that are coming up where there is a majority that is expected to come from the far-right parties in Europe. So how do you think that the issue that you're saying is resonating with the masses is going to resonate in the corridors of power?
Well, look, we cannot really generalize. We have to see this country by country. In Spain, we have a more center-left government. The same in Ireland, the same in Slovenia. Previous government in Slovenia, for example, was an extreme right-wing government. Today, we have a center-left government. So we cannot really generalize about Europe in general. However, the rise of extreme right-wing has to do with the fact that it is related to the waves of immigration from the Middle East to Europe. So they used this to mobilize public opinion against what they call the threat of the Islamization of Europe. Second, extreme right-wing political parties have realized in order for them to be accepted, they should be loyal to Israel. In essence, these are anti-Semitic parties. In essence, they are anti-Semitic parties. However, politically speaking, they are big supporters of Israel because they think internationally they will be accepted if they have pro-Israeli position. If I remember 20, 30 years ago, right-wing parties were friends of the Arabs. I remember here, Jörg Haider, he visited Saddam Hussein, he visited Gaddafi, he made statements, strong statements against Israel. The same party today is one of the biggest supporters of Israel. They issued once even a statement saying that we should move the embassy, the Austrian embassy, from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. So again, but if you look at their political program, to their history, they're anti-Semites. So again, it is a political tactic by these parties to be accepted and to mobilize against immigration from the Middle East. So again, we do see the threat of the rise of extreme right-wing parties. However, I think we see in certain countries also the rise of left-wing, left-oriented political parties.
We're coming towards the end, and let me bring you back to the IAEA. The threat of Israel's, the nuclear issue, that you say that Israel is now admitting that it has nuclear weapons based on the statement of one individual, but it does seem to still have the support of its partners who are not going to pressure Israel into accepting any of what your demands or pleads are towards the IAEA or the international community. Why carry on? What's the point?
Again, why to be silent?
Many people ask on why continue with raising this issue over and over again where it hasn't resulted in anything. You've not been able to influence the Director General of the IAEA to issue at least a letter to Israel.
Your logic is, if we don't have the ability to implement resolutions that are binding, then we should stop presenting draft resolutions to the UN Security Council. No, I think this is the wrong approach.
My question was that if you've tried this approach, it has not yielded results. Is there another approach? Maybe is there something else that you can do? Because it hasn't worked and it is not unlikely to work in the near future.
No, because as long as we have this power constellation in the world, as long as we have countries like the United States that are providing protection for Israel, obviously we're not going to see a change. I think countries act according to their interests and not according to what international law says. But again, do we have now an alternative to this international system? My answer is no, we don't have. So we should continue, using the instruments that we have, knowing that these instruments have their strong deficiencies, but nevertheless we should keep using them until a better system emerges.
Ambassador Salah Shafi, thank you very much for talking to Al Jazeera.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.